I think the Pope has a problem. In the last generation or so, the Church, the Catholic Church, has changed out of all recognition. I mean, it used to be a fundamentally European church with foreign missions spread around the world. What has changed is that these foreign missions have now become independent churches on their own. And I would say that's one of the main reasons why, instead of staying in the Vatican all the time, like most of his predecessors, he's got out a lot.
Karol Wojtyła's adoption of the role of pilgrim pope is probably, in the eyes of most Catholics, the most significantly different aspect of his papacy.
I suppose one of the arguments against it would be that some people, I suppose the Vatican officials, feel that he should spend more time in the Vatican doing the paperwork and the desk work that must go with the papacy. Another criticism might be that by visiting the local churches, he's going over the heads of his own Vatican officials. By visiting these local churches himself, he's emphasizing the concentration, if you like, of power in Rome.
Some theologians take an even dimmer view of the disadvantages of an itinerant papacy.
I deplore the implications of the internationalization of the papacy. I mean, in Catholic doctrine, we only have deacons, priests, bishops. And the most important, the head bishop, is the bishop of the city of Rome, because Rome is the mother diocese of all the dioceses of the Catholic Church. What in fact we've now got, whether anyone wanted it doctrinally or not, is a kind of massive great super bishop who towers in imagery and perception over all the other bishops in the Catholic Church. In fact, he is able to operate and exercise a power which goes vastly above that of any possible account of what a bishop is.
The papal party is relatively small, consisting of his secretary, Monsignor Żywiec, a few selected experts, his doctor, and his Secretary of State, Cardinal Casaroli. The vast majority of the party are journalists, some 70 or so representatives of the international media. The tickets they buy make a contribution to papal expenses, but it is the job of Joaquin Navarro Valls, the Pope's press officer, to encourage them to make a positive contribution to the papal image. On this Latin American trip, the visit to Uruguay does not arouse much media interest. The trip to Bolivia has some journalistic potential, but the Pope's proposed meeting with the world's longest surviving totalitarian dictator in Paraguay is distinctly promising. The Pope doesn't normally give interviews, but he does traditionally walk through the plane, offering the journalists the chance of an incisive question or two. Questions he doesn't wish to answer, or that he considers irrelevant, are treated much as he might, when a university lecturer, have treated a lazy student.
What do you hope to accomplish on this trip?
Oh, the same. Could you give us your views on the situation in Poland at this time?
I am going to Latin America, not to Poland.
Is your sympathy with the strikers?
The Church has her own doctrine also about the strike. If you read, for instance, Laborem Existence, you find an answer. It is my counsel to you to read Laborem Existence.
The Italian journalists do contrive a question relevant to the tour, asking for his reaction to the cocaine industry in Bolivia.
Ecco, ma se sono solamente questi paesi, ci sono solamente questi paesi responsabili e colpevoli, si deve chiedere.
Some well-timed turbulence cuts short any further discussions.
Christ said to apostles, go in the whole world, to all the nations. And that seems to be realized in our century, to be realized in different measures. The church sometimes is a church of whole nations, and and sometimes is a church of small groups in this nation, but is placed, is developed in all the world, in the different nations and countries of the whole world. It is as says Karl Rahner, the Weltkirche, the church of the world.
In 10 years, John Paul II has made 39 international pilgrimages, visiting 77 different countries, many more than once. This, his second trip to Uruguay, will be long enough to justify his promise to return, but short enough not to disturb unduly the secular authorities. Nevertheless, in 2 short days, the Pope will officiate at 2 celebrations, say 2 holy masses, ordain 15 priests, give 5 discourses, and have meetings with his nuncio, Catholic intellectuals, and the country's president. The papal party then moves on to Bolivia. Bolivia is a country of immense size and of immense poverty. It's also a country in which the Church has adopted much of liberation theology, a tendency that Wojtyla views somewhat askance. It's not altogether surprising that other popes have avoided finding themselves in such theologically delicate situations, but then Karol Wojtyla has seldom been accused of faint-heartedness. The day begins here at the Franciscan monastery that is hosting the papal party. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. The timetable is meticulous. At 8 o'clock, the Pope-mobile arrives. Pope-mobiles were invented for John Paul II and strengthened after the attempt on his life in 1981. Their bulletproof construction combines security and visibility. There are 2 Pope-mobiles permanently in Latin America. For this trip, they've been supplemented by some of the 7 that are kept at the Vatican.
Son buenas.
8:10, a chance to catch up on coverage of the tour so far.
Notizie latifondisti dividono la terra, il Papa c'è troppa ingiustizia.
Il Papa.
No, il Papa dice. Il Papa, 2 punti. Questo è il linguaggio dei titoli. Il Papa, 2 punti. Un po' così telegrafico.
Ma questi sono titoli sottotitoli, quindi non dicono molto.
Then it's necessary to say thank you to the legion of helpers. The papal photographer, Signor Mari, takes photographs of every single meeting. The prints will later be sent from Rome in the Vatican's diplomatic bag. Only 4 days into the trip, and Mari has already shot 3,000 rolls of film. The first official business of the day, a visit to the president, begins on time. Bolivia has the dubious distinction of having had 159 governments in 150 years. This particular president has been elected on 3 separate occasions, but has never completed a term of office without being overthrown by a military coup. The Pope, as a head of state, must meet the head of state. The real business of this trip, meeting with the people, has been organized in conjunction with the local church, but that can only commence once diplomatic niceties have been observed. is no great quarrel between the Vatican and the present Bolivian administration, so after the routine exchange of gifts, the tour can move on. By 9:15, the papal party is on its way to Sucre for a holy mass which will be attended by nearly 1 million people. Bolivia used to be part of the Inca Empire. It was conquered by the Spanish and evangelized during the 16th century.
Como hermano de Cristo, y todos nosotros en Él tenemos los mismos derechos. Podemos llamarle a Dios, Padre nuestro, y a Cristo.
Though missionaries did much to help preserve the Indians' culture and language, there is still some confusion between the indigenous male god of the sun, Pachacama, and the female god of the earth, Pachamama, and the Christian symbols of Jesus and the Virgin Mary. A Bolivian will not think it strange to spill some wine upon the earth in a religious offering to Pachamama before setting off for a Catholic Mass. One of the most delicate tasks facing the local church before a papal tour is selecting the people who will receive communion from the hands of the Pope. After a 3-hour mass, there'll be a short break for lunch at the local monastery. At 2 o'clock, the Pope will meet the sick and the old at the Cathedral of Sucre. Many of the sick will be young children. A brief flight will take the party to the next meeting, but the tour is running into problems. It seems that the government in Paraguay, the next country on the itinerary, has cancelled a meeting that the Pope was to have had with representatives of the opposition. As a result, the whole visit to Paraguay is now in jeopardy.
I mean, the key point is, when the Holy Father receives an invitation from a country is under one condition, that he can perform his pastoral duties in full. He is not going to preach only one part of the gospel or other part of the gospel, but what he feels is all the gospel.
Juan Pablo, Papa Peregrino, Tariq está contigo. Los niños quieren ver al Papa, los niños quieren ver al Papa. Niños grandes, por favor, dejen que los niños se acerquen al vicario de Cristo. Los niños quieren ver al Papa, al vicario de Cristo. Dejen que los niños vengan al vicario de Cristo. Y a través del vicario de Cristo, a Cristo nuestro Salvador.
De Bolivia, tengo la honrosa misión de saludaros y brindaros la más cálida bienvenida.
Meanwhile, papal diplomats are working out how to persuade the Paraguayans that a meeting with opposition representatives would be much less embarrassing to President Stroessner than a cancelled papal trip.
Os da la fuerza y claridad para enseñarnos el camino de la verdad y la vida. El pensamiento de justicia de la Santa Madre Iglesia, nuestra inquebrantable fe religiosa, las enseñanzas de Jesús aprendidas en el seno de la familia y en la escuela, son los únicos medios capaces de transformar el mundo en que vivimos.
Juan Pablo, Papa Peregrino, Tariq está contigo. Juan Pablo, Papa Peregrino, Tariq está contigo.
A further 30-minute flight takes the Pope to the heartland of Bolivian liberation theology, the parish of Oruro.
Saludarlo en nombre de todos los que conforman esta parcela del pueblo de Dios, la Iglesia de Oruro, y los hermanos campesinos, mineros, obreros, desocupados, relocalizados, gente de nuestros barrios marginales, presentes aquí para contarle algo de sus vidas y preocupaciones y celebrar.
La gente nos abusa, vivimos los campesinos en la vida miseria. Por las autoridades de los campos o de la ciudad nos abusan, no nos atiende con preferencia en las oficinas, más bien nos trata como una cualquier animal.
This used to be one of the wealthiest areas of Bolivia, but the collapse of the silver and tin industries has turned it into one of the poorest. What Wojtyla says here will be listened to carefully by those who wish the church to play a more active role.
Siento un gran gozo estar hoy con vosotros. Sé de tantos trabajadores que habéis sido desplazados de vuestros lugares de trabajo, los profundos socavones que hace años eran la gran fuente de la riqueza nacional, especialmente en Oruro y Potosí, ahora son solo testigos mudos de tantísimas vidas humanas. Conozco las dificultades de vuestra situación actual. Quiero aseguraros que la Iglesia os acompaña como madre solícita en vuestras legítimas aspiraciones.
There is no doubting the needs of the Bolivian poor, nor the sincerity with which they look to the Church for guidance and help. The only question concerns how much help the Pope can really offer.
Hermano Juan Pablo II, sucesor de Pedro, vicario de Cristo, los mineros sufrimos hambre, no tenemos pan, nuestros hijos lloran por un pedazo de pan. Es por eso que te damos gracias hoy, Padre Santo, por haber aceptado la teología de la liberación, por haber escrito las insignias, Padre Santo, de la María Iglesia, sociales, que significa para nosotros una esperanza de fe. Los mineros queremos que se ponga este casco y sea un trabajador de que un minero no es rescatable y juntos luchemos por la reactivación de este calendario. Y esta carta es el mensaje de las comunidades eclesiales de base de Catania. Creemos en Dios Padre Santo.
Some people feel that when the Pope is there, everything is wonderful. It's a magnificent occasion. It's a folklore occasion, a cultural occasion, a tremendous religious occasion. He has very strong views on certain points, and he never fails to express these views during pretty well every visit he makes. But maybe a month or 2 months or 3 months later, one can say, well, what remains of it? Except pictures and memories.
After one Holy Mass, 4 Mass meetings, and 5 separate flights, the day ends at 10:15.
Stiamo molto la BBC che nos acompañó, la BBC termina el día, la BBC finisce il giorno adesso.
Ambiente.
Climate.
Climate, yeah. So, good night. Sleep well.
The Paraguayan government has backed down. The previously cancelled meeting with the opposition has been reinstated, so the papal tour sets off for Asuncion. On board, the journalists are organising a collection to buy a present for the Pope and preparing their coverage of the papal meeting with the President of Paraguay, General Stroessner. Meanwhile, the Pope is meeting the aircrew. At Asuncion Airport, meteorology is preparing to dampen the journalists' enthusiasm for this particular leg of the trip. Official ceremonies at the airport are cancelled and the schedule is hastily reorganised. The red carpet is relaid and the Pope makes his way to meet the President at his palace. Karol Wojtyla has often faced criticism for even agreeing to meet men like Stroessner, and in this case he must know that the President had, after the war, offered sanctuary in Paraguay to many of the Nazis who had desecrated his own country. The world will be watching for his reaction. Meanwhile, the journalists make their way to the hotel to watch the confrontation on television.
Santo Padre, la República del Paraguay se siente inmensamente honrada porque su santidad, el Papa Juan Pablo II, se encuentra en esta nación de auténtica tradición cristiana. Por eso decimos que hemos hecho, hacemos y seguiremos haciendo un gobierno con espíritu y constancia de hombres buenos, con el esfuerzo de largas vigilias y con fe en la fraternidad. Este Paraguay de hoy, sin crisis sociales y políticas, sin tumultos, sin agitaciones callejeras, sin presos políticos, sin odios que hagan derramar sangre de hermanos y sin madres enlutadas por el fanatismo político.
General Stroessner's description of a Paraguayan paradise requires a careful response.
La Iglesia no se confunde en modo alguno con la comunidad política, ni está ligada al sistema político alguno. Como señaló mi venerado predecesor, el Papa Juan XXIII, en la encíclica Mater et Magistra, es competencia y obligación del poder público político crear y potenciar aquellas condiciones sociales que favorezcan el bien auténtico y completo de la persona. La Iglesia aprecia en mucho vuestros desvelos en favor de la dignidad humana. El respeto de los derechos humanos, como es bien sabido, no es una cuestión de conveniencia política, sino que deriva de la dignidad de la persona humana. En virtud de su condición de criatura de Dios, no se puede edificar una vida verdaderamente humana en el orden material, en contra de la ley de Dios.
Asuncion is careful to present the acceptable face of Paraguayan totalitarianism. But despite Stroessner's claims, there is deep resentment of his regime, and there are politicians ready to oppose him. Domingo Laino is considered by many to be one of the most likely candidates to replace Stroessner.
general Alfredo Stroessner hace 34 años es presidente del Paraguay. Hay dos pilares fundamentales que lo soportan. Uno se relaciona con la corrupción. La economía sumergida, marginal, ilícita en Paraguay maneja multimillonarios beneficios derivados del narcotráfico, del contrabando de whisky escocés, tabaco rubio americano y todos los productos del vicio. Por otra parte, el pilar fundamental también es la represión. Él pudo en 34 años elaborar uno de los más fuertes estados de terror. El pueblo paraguayo vive aterrorizado.
The meeting, which the government had tried to cancel with the constructors of society, is now in the final stages of preparation.
El dictador Stroessner es capaz de manipular la visita de cualquier personaje extranjero en el país. Así lo ha hecho con muchos miembros de la colectividad mundial, diplomáticos, representantes de gobiernos extranjeros, etc. Esta vez con el Papa hará lo propio. Ya aparecieron afiches donde aparece la foto del dictador al lado del Santo Padre y evidentemente ese deseo de manipulación se ha manifestado ya y creo que se va a manifestar en el futuro.
If it's clearly known whose side he's in fact on, then I don't think it does an awful lot of damage if he's seen standing alongside somebody else. So, in other words, at one level, the problem only arises if there is some perceived ambiguity anyway about whose side he's on. That's part of it. But the other part of it, I think, is that there is a certain sort of slightly disincarnate romantic unreality about people say, well, the Pope really shouldn't talk to nasty people. Well, who the devil's left for him to talk to in that case?
Even the American correspondents who've tended to follow the tour from their hotel bedrooms have come to this meeting, though their crews might wish they hadn't bothered.
Okay, you don't need me. Get the mic here so that we can hear the English translation as he's telling it in Spanish.
Sure, but how do I avoid not seeing in his face?
No, you can see his face. Don't show the man in the tan coat. He's simply going to translate.
Then why should he be there?
Because he has to translate the question.
Why can't he be here?
He can be anywhere you want. Where do you want him? You want him here?
I don't see how I can avoid it.
You tell them the way you want it, and they'll do it.
Don't get frustrated, then I see you.
What do people here want? What do people here tonight want?
The government tried to cancel the meeting for what they called security reasons. They've agreed to it going ahead, but have disclaimed responsibility for anything that might occur.
Está contigo esperando más de una hora. atrasado. Hermanos y hermanas muy amados, distinguidos participantes en este encuentro, es para mí motivo de viva satisfacción estar hoy con vosotros, hombres y mujeres que desempeñáis responsabilidades de singular relieve en la vida de la nación. El orden y la paz son un empeño común y suponen el respeto efectivo de los derechos inalienables de la persona. La paz no es compaginable con una forma de organización social en la que solamente algunos individuos instauran a su exclusivo provecho un principio de discriminación. Una verdadera democracia no puede atentar en manera alguna contra los valores que se manifiestan bajo forma de derechos fundamentales, de valores como la paz, la libertad, la justicia y la participación. Son requisitos esenciales para poder hablar de una auténtica sociedad democrática. Con estos deseos invoco sobre vosotros, sobre vuestros colaboradores, sobre todos los hogares de esta querida nación, las benedicciones y gracias del Altísimo. Hermanos y hermanas, oremos con confianza como Cristo nos enseñó. Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos, santificado sea tu nombre.
Creo que esta visita del Papa se proyectará de manera positiva para el movimiento democrático paraguayo. Y creo que esto nos pone mucho más cerca de un inicio de una transición pacífica hacia la verdadera democracia en este país. En cierto modo se puede hablar del Paraguay antes de la visita del Papa y luego de la visita del Papa.
In modo tale che loro possano girare da lì. Questo Arturo.
There's a chance to relax, for today is Papa Wojtyla's 68th birthday.
Buon compleanno.
Santo Padre,
Sì.
nel centro.
Adesso si può dire che è già compleanno.
Sì, ormai. Anzi, ha risparmiato 6 ore, ma li recuperiamo adesso.
Sì, intanto ricordiamo che bisogna passare.
Ah, quello
Come simbolo solo, Santo Padre.
Sì, per contemplare.
Solo il far così, niente altro.
Qui non ci sono bambini a cui mandare.
Tutti per l'applauso.
Basta così. sono anche gli artefici della torta.
Questo un poco di polacco che c'è dietro.
Gratulazioni. Fate come volete. Quando sarà finito mi dite che è già finito.
Auguri ancora.
Ecco, auguri santità. Auguri, grazie.
Parte dell'Italia,
Grazie, grazie. Per la benevolenza, per la pazienza.
I giornalisti fotografo un altro regalo.
Ecco Santità, a nome di tutti i giornalisti del volo papale facciamo i migliori auguri.
Grazie.
Questo è il simbolo della nostra professione, una penna, banale.
Sì, grazie, grazie di cuore. Ma penna,
c'è anche un biglietto con i nostri nomi.
Tanti auguri. Io sto utilizzando la penna molto, senza passare la macchina. Sono ancora un ritardato.
The 37th papal tour ends with a speech of thanks from the Pope to those who've accompanied him.
Non posso non ricordare il dono dell'Italia, non ricordare il dono niente altro, solamente primo taglio, e poi spero che questo grande dono non si è perduto, ma ha trovato una sua propria destinazione tra i presenti. C'è un proverbio, almeno in polacco, che un cavallo, quando deve tornare a casa, cammina sempre più svelto, e questo si è verificato anche con il nostro volo, perché la giornata di ieri è stata più breve. Sembra che l'aereo è simile a un cavallo.
Wojtyla returns to Rome. The Pope returns to his traditional home. In his first 10 years, Wojtyla may have challenged and changed the traditional view of the papacy, but he has not felt the need to challenge or change the traditional view of its teaching.
It is a message of salvation, the eternal salvation. For the Church are preaching eternal life, no? Eternal life, eternal destiny of the human person and of the human family. The mission of Christ was in this world, but it was eschatological. But eternal salvation presupposes also a temporal world salvation in this world. So it seems to me that the most simple and most synthetic word is salvation, mission of salvation. That is the mission of the Church, and this mission is still actual, is still of today and of tomorrow.